Started. All right, I call this meeting. Did I turn my mic off? And my computer's muted. Can everyone hear me? Mr. Jordan, can you hear me?
There you go.
Yes, okay, good. All right, so welcome to our business meeting on November 17th, 2021. We'll start by calling the roll. Ms. Tanner?
Hold on 1 second. All right, it's on. Basine? Here. Campson?
Here.
Clanton?
Present.
Gabriel?
Present.
Mr. Jordan is here, I believe.
You can go ahead and call Mr. Jordan's name, and then I'll do the
Okay.
process. But
Jordan?
Here.
Martin?
Present. Okay, can I get a motion to allow Mr. Jordan to join us?
I need to establish certain things on the record and ask Mr. Jordan a couple questions. You can hear me, Mr. Jordan, can't you?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jordan has requested to attend today's meeting electronically because he can't be here physically. In order to do that, the Virginia Code requires the board to have a policy that allows a member to attend a meeting electronically if there is at least a quorum of the public body's members present in one physical place. And we have that, and we have the policy. The policy requires a couple of things to be established for the record and to go into the minutes. One, the request to attend a meeting electronically has to be either for a personal matter or a medical matter. In this case, it's a personal matter. There has to be a statement on the record as to what the personal matter is. So, Mr. Jordan, if you'll state for the record why you can't be here physically today.
Good evening. I'm in Williamsburg. I'm attending the Virginia School Boards Association convention in person, and I'm doing professional development as well as doing some presentations. And my responsibilities here didn't end in time for me to be able to return to Norfolk in person in time for the meeting, and that's why I requested to participate virtually.
All right, and Mr. Jordan has said where he is, which is another thing that has to be established on the record. So at that point, there needs to be a roll call vote of the members present physically today, and a vote of yes or aye will be to allow Mr. Jordan to participate in today's meeting electronically. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll.
Basine? Here. Campson?
It's aye or nay.
Yes.
Oh,
Aye.
Campson?
Oh, me, all right. Yes.
Okay. Clanton?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye. All right, Mr. Jordan, you're in.
And now Mr. Jordan can participate in the meeting just as if he was physically here. And I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Okay, thank you. So first on our agenda we have is our executive session. So can I get a motion to go into executive session? Mr. Clanton,
Second.
Dr. Gabriel seconded.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Please
Ms.
read the
Campson.
motion.
Yes.
Oh, Ms. Campson seconded? Okay, I thought I heard, so Ms. Campson for the record. Thank you, Ms. Campson. Can we hear the motion, please?
Yes. Move that members of the school board of the city of Norfolk go into a closed session for the purposes which are set out in subsection A of section 2.2-3711 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as amended for discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of Norfolk Public Schools pursuant to subsection 1 of the Act. The subject of this portion of the session is today's regular personnel agenda and 2 incidents involving students and employees at Lake Taylor High School. B, discussion or consideration of disciplinary and any other matters concerning students in Norfolk Public Schools that would involve the disclosure of information contained in the scholastic record pursuant to subsection 2 of the Act. The subject of this portion of the session is 2 incidents involving students and employees at Lake Taylor High School. C, consultation with legal counsel and briefing by staff.
Excuse me, that section should also mention today's regular student support agenda, as well as the incident at Lake Taylor.
You said a regular student support agenda?
Yes, there's a regular student-supported agenda.
Okay, so I'll go back and say the subject of this portion of the session is 2 incidents involving students and employees at Lake Taylor High School, and the agenda should also state student support agenda. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and student support agenda should be covered in subsection C, which is the next section you're reading.
Okay, consultation with legal counsel and briefing by staff members concerning actual or probable litigation or specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by counsel pursuant to subsections 7 and 8 of the Act. The subjects of this section of the motion are those set out above in subsections A and B of this motion, and specifically student support, student matters, student agenda matters.
And it should also say discussion of issues related to the board contract for training with the Council of Great City Schools.
You know what?
I think you're reading the original draft of the motion.
Yeah, hold on.
And that was changed subsequently.
Let me go and read I see it here. Hold on a second. If I may start over?
Yes, please.
If you please. Move that members of the school board go into a closed session for the purposes which are set out in subsection A of section 2.2-3711 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as amended for discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of Norfolk Public Schools pursuant to subsection 1 of the Act. The subject of this portion of the session is today's regular personnel agenda and 2 incidents involving students and employees at Lake Taylor High School. B, discussion or consideration of disciplinary and any other matters concerning students in Norfolk Public Schools that would involve the disclosure of information contained in the scholastic report pursuant to subsection 2 of the Act. The subjects of this portion of the session are today's regular student support agenda and 2 incidents involving students and employees at Lake Taylor High School. C, consultation with legal counsel and briefing by staff members concerning actual or probable litigation or specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by counsel pursuant to subsections 7 and 8 of the Act. The subjects of this section of the motion are those set out above in subsections A and B of this motion, and a discussion of issues related to the board's contract for training with the Council of Great City Schools.
That's the correct final version.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Basine.
Hey, I'm voting no because I'm still not clear on why the discussion for the contract with the Council of Great City Schools is in closed session.
Okay. Campson?
Aye.
Clanton?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye. Aye.
Martin?
Aye. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead into closed session in the conference room. Can I get a motion to come out of closed session? Can
Madam Chair, I move that we certify the closed session.
I get a second?
Second.
You?
Better sound on.
Ms. Tanner, please read the resolution.
Okay. A resolution certifying the executive meeting of the School Board of the City of Norfolk in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Whereas the School Board of the City of Norfolk has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the School Board of the City of Norfolk that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be resolved that the School Board of the City of Norfolk hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the executive meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the executive meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the School Board of the City of Norfolk. Basine?
Aye.
Campson?
Aye.
Clanton?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye. Okay, Ms. Tanner, we'll go ahead and get the business meetings section of our meetings this evening started. Ms. Tanner, will you please call the roll?
We have not come out of executive session yet. You have to certify the executive session first.
Didn't we just do that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we just voted.
Okay.
That's okay.
I was thinking about other things.
That's fine. Yeah, Ms. Tanner, please call the roll.
Yes. Basine?
Aye.
Campson? Clanton? Gabriel?
Present.
Jordan?
Here.
Martin?
Oh, I heard.
Present. Okay, before we move on, I would like to amend the agenda. Can I get a motion to remove?
5.02 was removed already.
It was removed?
Yes.
Okay, all right, excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right. So welcome everyone this evening. Again, I really appreciate your patience as we were in closed session having a very important discussion. So we'll move ahead. Let's see. First up, we have Ms. Karma Johnson, our student representative, if you haven't met her yet. She's joining us today, and she will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand.
Good evening. We request that all cell phones and pagers be turned off or put on vibrate during the course of this meeting. Thank you. Please rise and remain standing for the reciting of this Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, to the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Yeah. Okay, up next we have our superintendent's report. Dr. Birdsong, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair Martin, Mr. Clanton, Vice Chair, members of the board, members of our community and staff. We have a wonderful video presentation prepared for you this evening. It displays all of the wonderful student outcomes that we've experienced since the last time we met. Very excited about the video, and so I'll ask Channel 47 to go ahead and proceed with the video, please.
Booker T. Washington High School's Academy of Visual and Performing Arts now houses a brand new Mac lab for their digital media program. The lab, which was made possible through federal funding, consists of 20 workstations and the newest versions of Adobe software. The young artists involved in these unique digital media courses enjoy the challenges and advantages this valuable technology creates for them.
Oh, they're excited. I mean, I hear gasps of, oh, cool, like throughout class. And I think the students are definitely really impressed with the opportunities they get now to create this high level of artwork. I think having these tools available to them offer them lots of transferable skills that they can take into any kind of workplace. And it also gives them opportunities to think creatively and think outside the box of how they can accomplish certain things and problem solve.
There's a lot you can do with it. And especially with like that software alone, I'm still learning it. Like I probably haven't even learned half of it yet. But it's fun. I like it. I'm gonna stay in here probably till I graduate. I think it's just kind of cool. I think it's definitely different from the other classes I have.
Our digital media class is really cool because I've never worked with Mac computers. I was working on my phone, but now we have all these cool computers and programs that I get to work with and experiment on. We have Adobe Illustrator and Adobe InDesign. I couldn't do that before. I used to just like draw them out, but now I can actually animate on it and physically make the pages, and it's really fun to do. It makes me feel a lot more experienced, and it makes me excited for what I could do like when I get to college and stuff.
Over 300 middle school students at 4 different school sites took part in this year's Big Feet Meet. Norfolk Public Schools partnered with Special Olympics for this unique event that enables students with special needs to participate in a variety of physical activities. Volunteers from Old Dominion University assisted students with each activity, while their peer buddies that they'd been paired up with cheered them on to victory.
This is an amazing event for our students. It's a way for our students to have an athletic event solely for them, as well as having their general education peers right there with them, cheering them along. It's a fantastic event that Special Olympics does.
We want everyone to be included, and we want to celebrate diversity, and it's good for both students with and without special needs, because it helps them learn about each other, it helps them accept differences, and of course, how better way to do it than through the power of sports.
I think for the most part, what we want to make sure that the community understands, what their peers understand, is that our children are people. You know what I mean? They're people, they love, they work, they play, and we want them to be able to grow up, contribute to their communities, and live the fullest life possible. And so this opportunity is always a great way for us to give them a chance to learn about each other and make new friends.
To help bring awareness to the hurtful effects of bullying among school-age children, Billy the Bully Buster visited several elementary schools, including St. Helena and W.H. Taylor. The anti-bullying mascot's visit will hopefully help students be more aware of the harmful effects bullying has on our NPS community. Just before Halloween, Norview High School's NJROTC held their annual Candy Harvest Parade. Norview's marching band played, while the school cadets, along with staff, passed out candy to pre-K students from Norview Elementary. After a year off from this festive event, these cadets enjoyed giving candy to the young costume students.
Here we go. All right, good to go.
Norfolk Public Schools invited parents and stakeholders to participate via Zoom in the first of our community engagement sessions about creating a new strategic plan for the district. Academics, culture, and infrastructure were just a few of the topics that were discussed during these 3 informative meetings. This first step in the creation of a 5-year strategic plan is designed to help our administration evaluate where we are so we can define, develop, and ultimately implement our plan. Be sure to check the NPS website and social media for more information.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. That
Thank you,
concludes our
Dr. Birdsong.
video report.
Thank you so much. Okay, next up we have our student performance.
Madam Chair, we have student art displays for November in the hallway, and it's under the direction of Georgiana Filio, our Senior Coordinator of Art and Dance Education. And now we will have literary writings and readings by the following students. First, we have Tatiana Winder, a 3rd grader at Ocean Air Elementary School, who will read, "Do You Know All the Nice Things About Autumn?" Okay. Tatiana.
Joining us via Zoom.
She's joining.
We ask her to introduce herself when she comes in.
What's happening?
Tatiana, excuse me.
Hello, can you hear?
Yes.
Say hi, Tatiana.
Hello.
I'm not sure why you can't see. I thought I selected the right thing.
Can you cut your video for us, Tatiana?
There we
Yay, we see you now.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hello. Can you please tell us your name and what grade you're in?
My name is Tatiana Lisette Wander, if you need the full name. And I'm in 3rd grade.
At what school?
Ocean Air Elementary.
Wonderful. Well, welcome. So are you going to read us a poem?
It's not really a poem, it's a writing about fall.
Okay. You can begin when you're ready.
Okay. Oh. Do you know all the nice things about autumn? Let me tell you all. Nice things in autumn. Autumn has so many yummy scents. One of my favorites is pumpkin pie candy. Autumn can feel different every day. I love the breeze of the cool air. During autumn, you hear lots of different sounds. One of my favorites is the chirp of the crickets. There is so many delicious meals in autumn. I love toasted marshmallows. I love fall so much. Yep.
Thank you. I love fall too. What can you name another favorite thing you love about fall?
Another thing I love about fall. Let's see. What do you love about fall? Well, everything.
Everything. Good job. Good job. Well, thank you so much for sharing your poem with us today. I really enjoyed having you here as a part of our meeting this evening, and I wish you a wonderful rest of the fall and Thanksgiving holiday.
Okay.
Keep up the good work.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, next we have Alejandra Yan Morales, a 6th grader at Crossroads School, who will share her writing entitled Childhood. You can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the school board meeting. You can go ahead and, well, first introduce yourself. Can you tell us your name, what grade you're in, and what school you attend?
My name is Alejandra Yan Morales. I am a 6th grader at Crossroads Middle School.
Okay, wonderful. So what are you going to present to us today?
I'm going to be reading my childhood poem.
Okay. You can begin whenever you're ready.
Childhood was a fun time with our carefree attitude and toys galore, but all that changed one day. Maybe it was slow, just enough for you not to notice. I look a little taller, I can run for longer. My voice is deeper, and it made me wonder. I no longer play with my dolls, I donated my toys. Girls my age are now into makeup and boys. I grew up too quick, I wanted to stop, but it doesn't, not a lot. Today I dusted off my dollhouse and took it out of the garage. I reminisced on my innocence and memories I've forgotten. I've aged a bit older, and I've accepted my youth is gone, but to the sweet memories I have, I will forever hold on. And that's the end.
Thank you. Very reflective poem. But I would say, from many of our perspectives, you still have a lot of youth ahead of you. So, you know, it's okay to hold on to that. But very talented. So is there anything else you want to share with us about how you arrived at the topic for your poem, or anything about the process of writing it?
It was an assignment for one of my classes, and I wrote it as an assignment, but my teacher really liked it, and so yeah, it was chosen. She told me that I should read at this school board meeting.
Well, thank you again. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. And you have a great rest of your week and Thanksgiving holiday.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Good night.
And then we have Leah Morrissey, a 12th grader at Granby High School, who will read It's About Time. Hi, Leah. You can share your video.
Here I am. Sorry. Hello, my name is Leah Morrissey, and I am a senior at Granby High School, and I will be sharing my poem, It's About Time.
Okay.
Time is matter in which it can't be made, like water from ocean to sky to rain and back again, constantly renewed, constantly the same. Hand in this assignment, take this test, write that essay, rest, finally, a break. Then it's back to punching in the hours as the pile of work only grows. Every effort, an unnoticeable dent. The pile keeps growing, looming into a tidal wave, ready to sweep everything in its path. Time keeps ticking like a clock in an escape room, regardless of any torrential turmoil, just intent on keeping things on schedule and the pressure of a deadline seen. Drip, drop, splash, continuing till no longer can we tread, and time becomes obsolete under the surface of the sea. Time isn't matter, for it can easily be destroyed in wasteful worries that distract from the calm outside of the storm. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to share with us how you arrived at this poem and the topic, and maybe a bit about your process?
Yes, my English teacher, Mr. Dow, asked if I would like to write a poem for the school board and make it relate to school in some way. And I found recently that I've had lots and lots to do for school, lots of assignments, lots of projects, lots of presentations, but it's really hard to fit that all in the limited amount of time I have, really, with doing extracurriculars and taking all my classes. So this is inspired by how overwhelmed I feel with all I have to do and the little amount of time I have to do it.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us. It was a beautifully written, very, very thoughtful poem, and I hope that you'll continue to write.
Mm-hmm. I certainly plan on it.
You have a talent for it. Well, thank you for joining us tonight, and have a great holiday weekend, or next weekend break, and good luck in your future creative writing.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay. Next, we have special student accomplishments for this evening as we recognize Kevin Nguyen, a 12th grader at Norfolk High School, who is recognized for selection to the Senior Regional Orchestra. Congratulations to Kevin for this musical accomplishment. And then also congratulations to 3 Granby High School 11th grade IB students, Puneeth Bassetti, Anna Porter Puckett, and Jaden Sawyer, who won the 2021 AIAA Design Build Competition, which gives them the opportunity to design, build, and launch an experiment into space in 2020. They are currently working on their payload called AL, which is the abbreviation for acoustic levitation, which will be launched on the New Shepard next year. The team's mission is to demonstrate low-cost acoustic levitation in microgravity, differentiate acoustic levitation across gravity levels, and use their findings to aid scientists to handle sensitive particles in space. A job well done, and we look forward to hearing more about this future space opportunity.
Sounds very impressive.
It does. Madam Chair, this concludes our student recognitions and readings for this evening.
Wow, so much talent. Okay, thank you, Ms. Tanner. That's exciting. Okay, yeah. All right, next up we have item 3.07, citizens' comments on agenda and non-agenda item. Can you please?
Oh, I still had 3.06.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
3.06,
The clerk's
sorry.
report.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Notes the following observances. November is Native American Heritage Month. November 8th was National STEM and STEAM Day. November 8th through the 12th was National School Psychology Week. November 15th through the 19th is American Education Week. November 18th is National Parent Involvement Day. And November 19th is Substitute Educator Day. And finally, November 20th is World Children's Day. And that is the conclusion of my report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we have our citizens' comments on agenda and non-agenda items.
Okay, for tonight's citizens' comments on agenda items and non-agenda items, we have one speaker. For tonight's public comments, speakers have 3 minutes to provide public comments. A timer will alarm to signal the conclusion of your remarks. Madam Chair, our first speaker for today for agenda items only and non-agenda items is Sharice Newsom.
Welcome.
Good evening, Chair, Dr. Martin, Vice Chair, Mr. Clanton, Superintendent, Dr. Birdsong, school board members, and everyone assembled here today. I'm Sharice Newsom, President of the Norfolk Council of PTAs, and I'm the proud mama of 2 brilliant boys at Livermore Elementary School, and a third who will be there just as soon as he's old enough. I want to remind you that we are in this together. The last 2 school years have been incredibly hard on all of us, students, teachers, families, and the community. But we've made it through together. Again this year, you have big decisions before you. I'm here tonight to encourage you to include parent and family voices in your deliberations. With COVID-related decisions, school calendars, budget priorities, and any major issues, including parent and family voices among all stakeholder groups will lead to the best outcomes for students. Thank you for your surveys, for your committees, for the phone calls, the newsletters, and all of the efforts you've made to inform and engage parents. Continue to reach out. Family involvement is critical to student achievement, and therefore we welcome your engagement with the PTA. Just to share with you a little bit about the Norfolk Council of PTAs, the Council is the local arm of the Virginia PTA, providing training, resources, and oversight to school units in Norfolk. Our mission is similar to yours. It's to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families to advocate for all children. As a PTA, we are an advocate for students, a voice for parents and families, a sounding board on key issues, a partner with teachers and staff, and a link to the community. We appreciate everything you do to help students excel, and I want to remind you that we're in this together. Thank you for your time, and I wish you the best with all the decisions you have before you. Take care.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, this concludes our speakers for this evening for agenda items and non-agenda items.
Up next, we have the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to accept
Sorry, Madam Chair.
Chair, I move that we accept the consent agenda.
you, Dr. Gabriel? Can I get a second? Mr. Clanton seconded.
Basine?
Aye.
Hampson? Aye. Clanton?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Aye.
Jordan?
Nay. Nay.
Did you say nay?
He said nay.
Okay. And Martin?
Aye. On to item 5.01, the monthly financial report. Is Mr. Jenkins here?
Yes, he's right behind you.
Evening, sir.
Good evening, Dr. Martin, Vice Chairman Clanton, Dr. Birdsong, members of the school board. Everyone hear me okay? Okay. Let's see, the October reports are before you. This covers the first 4 months of the fiscal year that started July 1. During the period, we collected $97 million of general fund revenue. This represents 27.4% of the $355 million budget. Collections during the same period of previous years was 23% in fiscal 2021 and 30% in the preceding year, 2020. Moving to page 2 of the report, which is page 3 actually, we have highlights. There's a graph of revenue and spending showing on the graph. By the end of October, we had spent $92 million, including encumbrances, which is 27.4% of the budget. Again, revenue is $97 million. For the previous 2 years, spending for during the same period was 25.5% in fiscal 21 and 26.9% in fiscal 2020. Spending this year is just a bit above last year and the year before. Page 4 includes 2 graphs, one of revenue at the top and the other for spending at the bottom of the page. The graph displays the current year with red columns, and then the previous 2 years are in blue and orange. More information, or more detailed information, is available starting on page 5. During the month of October, we transferred $50,000 in the school facility budget from materials to contract services to address contracted plumbing repairs. Dr. Martin, this concludes my report for October. Should you have or any other members have questions, I'll be glad to address them.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Jenkins? Okay, is Mr. Jordan?
I'm here.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Jenkins? No, not this time. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the monthly financial report.
Mr. Clanton seconded.
Okay. Basine?
Aye.
Campson?
Aye.
Clanton?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Aye.
Jordan?
Hey.
Martin?
Aye. Okay. Next, we have the discussion of the Ward 4 member selection process, and there's a document attached to that. So everyone should have had time to review this, and so I'll just go ahead and open it up for any comments, questions. Anyone? Ms. Campson and then Ms. Basine.
But I really admire how you managed to get all of this on a document that was only going to, that we had to do so quickly. So I'm amazed how well it went.
Oh, okay.
That you managed to get every single item that we were required to do in this short period of time onto this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Mm-hmm. So I guess I'll walk you through it a bit. We have 45 days from the time of Ms. Smith's resignation, which was effective on November 3rd. And so that gives us to appoint a new school board member to represent Ward 4. And so that gives us the deadline of December 18th that we have to name someone. So I tried to fit this into our calendar so that we didn't need any special meetings. So starting today, I wanted to discuss and decide on an application packet and process. So there's qualifications. Mr. Cloud, can you talk about the qualifications of what's required of a candidate if they decide to
The only qualifications are those for someone who would be running for the position in the election. You have to be a resident of the ward, which is, I believe, Ward 4.
Yes.
And you have to be a qualified voter. And I sent the board the definition of that term. It's essentially what any candidate has to be over 18. And speaking generally, there are a couple of exceptions. And you have to be registered to vote and able to vote. Sometimes there are conditions where a person is not able to vote, so they wouldn't be a qualified voter. But essentially, anyone who could run for the office in the election could be appointed.
Okay, thank you. And so what I imagined we would do is accept a resume and then ask the question kind of as a cover letter, which is typical with the resume, answer the question, why am I the best candidate to serve on the Norfolk School Board? Ms. Tanner has developed could you pull up the questionnaire, the submission? So there's an online submission survey that Ms. Tanner has started to work on where someone could answer the questions of qualifications, enter their information, fill out the topic response, and upload their resume. So we're trying to make it as seamless and easy as possible.
I have to go to my email.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Yeah, that was supposed to be. Mr. Jordan, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, if others was enough, you might not get feedback.
We're getting, just a moment, we're getting an echo. Whose speaker? His speaker? Mr. Jordan, I'm being told if you turn your speaker down, we won't get the echo effect.
Okay. That's better. I think others also have to.
Can you turn, is your speaker all the way down? You want, if your speaker's turned down, can you try to speak again?
Yes.
Speaker's still turned off.
Okay.
Maybe he needs to turn the speaker on.
We have someone looking into it right now.
Any better?
It's echoing.
They call you on his cell phone and then you put it up to the microphone?
My phone's almost dead.
Me?
Let's see.
Mr. Jordan?
Should I go ahead and try to call him? Okay. Is he gonna, do you still want me to call? Okay. Okay. Ms. Basine, go ahead. Mr. Jordan will come back to you. Okay.
So while we're waiting for him, so are we going to be able to see the questionnaire?
Yes.
Okay. Can we? You scroll through it. Do you reside in? And we're going to be asking for a resume along with this. I was just kind of thinking through what the questionnaire could include, which would include work experience in community, public or community service, which, I think that one question about do you hold a governmental position or are you a candidate, if it's not up there anymore, but so I'm just recalling what it says. But if we could include that, summary of educational background, summary of volunteer or employment with Norfolk Public Schools if they've been a volunteer, and rather than having, if we're going to ask them to, you said the 300 words, if we were going to ask them to write something to be specific about how many words.
We can, do you think 300 is enough, or?
Yes.
No, I think it's plenty.
Okay.
I just,
That's a lot of reading.
I would just say, additional qualifications that would make them, a prime candidate for this seat.
Well, I think that's a slippery slope because legally there aren't any other qualifications other than living in Ward 4 and being a qualified voter. But also the question of, do you currently hold a public position? So Mr. Cloud and I talked about this. There's some public positions that you aren't allowed to hold two simultaneously. Right. So we could potentially have someone in that situation. So we'd want to look into that. Okay. But as far as being, so are you asking to be more prescriptive on what's included in a resume?
No, I mean, that is typically what's in there, but if they've been a volunteer or employed by Norfolk Public Schools, that technically could be included in a resume, would be, you would think, included in the resume. That was just, again, I was just thinking through the process without having seen this questionnaire previously, so.
But I think anything.
I think it's fine.
Whenever we review the resumes, then I think the interviews are really an important piece for us to ask those questions.
Right.
And fill in those gaps if needed.
Yeah, and so that's the next piece, like, whether we do interviews, we have a public hearing. I've seen other districts do public hearings where interested candidates, once they've submitted the application and resume, we have a public hearing where they get to, kind of express their interest in the role. And they may have supporters who may come and provide additional information why they would be a good candidate. Those are just some other ways other districts have filled the seat in the similar situation. So just, again, as we talk through this process, just some other thoughts.
Have we resolved the sound issue with Mr. Jordan? Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
There is.
Go ahead.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
The only thing was like to interview the candidates. The only thing I would just suggest is if we zeroed in on a particular day. But I mean, as far as this here, to me, kind of looks very similar to. Council's had to fill some spots in the past. We want to make sure that there's representation as soon as possible for the ward. And we only have a certain amount of time, and that's the other thing, by December 18th. So what I see here is pretty, everything here is pretty much legal. What we need to do. The only thing about it, I thought about going back and forth. What if somebody wanted to send in a paper format? But I think that doing the electronic, we're going to have to do a lot of that anyway. We just want to make sure that somebody can demonstrate that they can do that. So, I mean, I'm pretty fine with what we have here. Citizens of Ward 4 can have a.
Go ahead, Ms. Kimpson.
Are we going to, so we're going to get the applications, and then we're going to choose from those how many candidates to interview? How many are we looking at interviewing?
I think we're going to have to make that decision based on the applications. But
Okay.
yeah, we're
If
going to
we
look
have
at
a
them and
youth
say,
card, all right.
these
'Cause I was
2,
thinking if
3
you-
stand out that we want to bring them in to interview.
Because it'd be good, I agree with Mr. Clanton that we should compress the days and then just do them back to back. Every hour another person
I think in scheduling, we'll try to do that. I was just showing the window of days that we want to
Oh, yeah, and I think that's a
have
good idea,
available too. But we of course want to be, we want to be respectful of everyone's time in doing the interviews and try to cluster them as much as possible.
We all need to be looking at our calendars for that month and maybe letting you know which
Yeah, I
days
just
so
wanted
that
to
you
make
can
sure people
get
knew the
information.
process and to expect that it's not just putting in an application, that there's going to be a window for interviews that if they're interested in, then they should probably be marking that week off, for availability.
And we can have our board members tell what days they have open, because it would be good to have all of our board members there for the interviews. And so say if we pick Wednesday or Monday, whatever day, if everybody tells us what days they have, or they could make open, then you'd be able to quickly give us a day. And then we would have that when we talk to the candidates. I'm sure who would be able to make time for coming in for their interview.
Right. All right, I'm going to turn to Ms.
But I did have one question. So if we go with this particular process here, just for everyone's hearing, how are we marketing this?
Ms. Tanner was going to send out a press release. Didn't you put a press release together?
I know we'll have to work with our community.
Yeah.
To send this out, but it's definitely going to be a button on the school board's website, one page, it'll be a story on our main webpage, and then also our
Very
social media
normal.
page. And they'll be clicking to this link after they go to the button on the webpage. Like a flash page explaining what we're doing, and then jump into the application.
So can I also make the recommendation that we get it to the civic leagues that are on Ward 4, and to the PTA that's in the back, so we can make sure that we're getting it out.
All hands on deck.
All hands on
Okay.
deck.
Mr. Jordan, are you ready? Am I supposed to call him?
Yes.
Oh, I am supposed to call him. Okay. Just.
Because they were going to try to bring
All right, my phone's about to die.
here. I don't think it's going to work.
Because technology is only good when it works.
Yes, ma'am.
It's still echoing.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. One, I just wanted to say that when Mr. Clanton was muted, so I was having difficulty hearing what he was saying.
Oh.
And then other members have their microphones open on Zoom. So I think when I was calling in, that's one of the reasons that there's echo. So right now, because you've called me, I've turned down my sound on the computer, which means I can't hear others, but you all could hear me. So having said all that, I couldn't necessarily follow all the conversation because I had NPS tech support talking to me as well.
Okay.
But a couple of things, some comments that I have on the proposed process. One, I think it's important that the school board hears from the citizens in terms of what the citizens of Ward 4 would like to see in a school board member. If I'm following the calendars here now, I don't see that taking place. I think it's very important that we don't treat the appointment as the school board's appointment. We are appointing someone who will represent the citizens of Ward 4, and I think it would therefore be very important that the school board have a sense of the vision and values of the people of Ward 4 as the school board is deliberating. So I think there should be some process, whether it's through public comment somewhere on your calendar, through the survey. I heard somebody mentioning some type of survey, but I think it's critically important that that we hear from the citizens of Ward 4 and that we aren't substituting what we think is best for those citizens, that those citizens are being heard. I don't know if I heard something about that the council has done appointments before, and I couldn't quite follow what was being said around. Ms. Basine made a comment. I couldn't hear what she said, and Dr. Martin, I heard you say something about something being legal or not adding something to it. Can you just restate that so I can understand what was being said?
Ms. Basine, go ahead and repeat what we were talking about qualifications, and I had said that included on the survey piece would be the legal qualifications that you live in Ward 4 and are a qualified voter. But I was saying I think that we just need to stay with that, and then any additional questions we have would come out in our interview process. I think that's, and Ms. Basine, go ahead. What?
And to Mr. Jordan's point about having the input of citizens of Ward 4, I think, and I don't know if you heard this part, but I was suggesting a public hearing to possibly, as a means to possibly get that input and support around the particular candidates.
So when I'm looking at the calendar, again, trying not to add any other meetings, we could always open up our December 1st work session and include a public comment on that day.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Dr. Martin, when I was hearing in respect, Jordan was speaking that the December 1st looking at the calendar would be a great time for that, to hear public comment, to hear from the citizens as far as what they would like to see in a candidate, not a particular candidate, but what they would like to see in a candidate. So I think, based on the calendar, I think December 1st would be a perfect opportunity to invite members of Ward 4, PTA, student,
anyone
to be able to come in and provide some feedback on what they like to see.
Again, Mr. Clanton is muted, so it's hard for me to hear what was being said, but I think I heard that
picking up,
taking comments on December 1st.
Yes.
Okay, so, and that would be after the application deadline?
Muted. Yes, the application deadline's November 23rd.
No, that's not what I'm suggesting.
Okay.
I'm suggesting that that the board should hear from the public sooner than that. The other thing is
wait a second. I'm sorry. Before you, let me stop you there. So, if the board hears from the public before December 1st, how would you suggest we fit that into the timeline?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, that we do surveys. We can, if the board is not willing to meet in order to hear from the public, then
I'm not saying we're not willing to meet. It was just that this is this timeline, because we're up against Thanksgiving on the 23rd, that we need to have whatever we discuss for the 1st needs to be submitted by the 23rd, because the district is closed from Wednesday through Sunday. So we would need to, and we're already, right now is the 17th, so just trying to understand how we would fit that in prior to receiving the applications.
I'll have every solution. I know we're talking about this for the first time 2 weeks since the resignation. I'm just simply trying to emphasize that I think it is important that we institute a mechanism, any mechanism that we can come up with, and as many mechanisms as we can come up with, so that the citizens of Ward 4 are able to say to the board, just like we were doing when we were having vision and values discussions and other discussions, we made an effort to try to hear from individuals. my preference would be that we would do it as a full board, but maybe some of us just have to go around and maybe have a meeting, a couple of meetings inside of Ward 4 and hear that. I just think it's very important that we hear that citizen's voice, because the person who is placed in that position is going to represent the citizens of Ward 4. And I don't know to what extent we all are in tune with what those wishes are. And I think the way that we become in tune is to make sure that we are deliberate about trying to hear those thoughts and voices and wishes from the citizens of Ward 4.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you there. I mean, right now the options are to email the school board any any thoughts they have about what they would like to see in a Ward 4 representative. Any of the normal avenues that people reach out to the school board, and then I think adding the public comment on the first, we're covering both bases. But go ahead.
I mean, we got this Friday. We're discussing it. I know that there's talk about, based upon the timeline of announcing the application process and timeline tomorrow. So I'm just trying to give my input on that today,
right? So
that we can be in agreement on what we're going to do, even if we do something tomorrow. Because it sounds like there have been some conversations, but this is the first time we've had a conversation about it as a board as a whole. I also think that we should consider whether or not we are going to prioritize or ask or somewhere have a discussion as to whether or not we're going to ask the person that we appoint to be someone who does not run for the seat in November. And so I think that's also something we need to talk about, so we can be clear around those expectations that we can then communicate to potential applicants, as well as what our priorities are, our thoughts are in that regard to the public as well.
Okay, let's address that then. Mr. Cloud, is there any restrictions on or parameters around us making a decision on an appointed candidate for this as a member of the school board for Ward 4 to run or not after they fulfill the one-year term?
I mean, you can ask them whether they intend to or not, and ask them to make a commitment, but you can't, there's no contractual arrangement you could make that would prevent them from running if they chose to run.
Okay, so, I mean, so what I'm hearing is, on the one hand, you want to hear from Ward 4 residents about what they're looking for in a candidate, which I 100% agree with. But then on the other hand, we're going to hopefully find someone who meets those needs and then put a restriction on them that they don't run in November?
You're describing it as a contradiction. I'm not describing it that way. What I'm saying is that the appointment process belongs to the school board, that the school board needs to be respectful of the wishes and understand the values of the community. So when the school board is making a determination of who can best represent the citizens of Ward 4, that we have input from the citizens of Ward 4. So, period. Second thought is that we also, as the board, should have a conversation around whether or not we would encourage, or as Attorney Cloud just said, it's not a contract, but whether or not we would consider to what extent a person that we appoint is appointed for the year to complete the term that Ms. Smith has left, but that person may or may not be considered for, we may value in our decision making whether or not that person then would run for the seat. I raise that because through the city council process, up until this most recent election, whenever there was a vacancy on city council,
since we've had the ward system, the city council, appointed someone who would complete the term and not run for the office. It wasn't until this most recent city council election that changed. So I'm saying now that we are in that position, we should take the time to consider it and discuss it. Our ward system in Norfolk, as we all know, is based upon racial segregation. So we have on the school board, we have 7 seats. We have 3 predominantly gerrymandered black seats, and we have 4 predominantly gerrymandered white seats. We have a school division with a non-white population somewhere 66%. So I just think it is important that we have understanding of what those that advocated for the ward system felt was important in terms of individuals being able to elect people of their choice. I think we also should be mindful of the politics that can get involved in these types of decisions, and so I think it is worthy for us as a board to have that discussion so that we're clear on whether or not we want to consider having someone who is appointed be appointed to complete the term, but not someone who would then complete the term and then also run for the seat in the November election.
Okay, so let me ask the group, is anyone opposed to allowing or not allowing, but making the statement that, or suggestion that whoever we appoint does not run? Let me do it this way. Is anyone in favor of suggesting that the person who we appoint for Ward 4's representative not run in the following election? Ms. Bassim?
I say something? Comment on that. Be perfectly honest and just to be perfectly transparent about it. I've never agreed with council's decision to place an additional, requirement on individuals on appointment. I mean, the charter and the state law is pretty clear as to you have the appointment power. But no matter what, when that election comes around, it is still the voice of the people making a determination about who that representative will be. And if we're taking all this time and effort to listen to the community and appoint somebody, if that person's not doing a good job and the Ward 4 doesn't want them, they'll elect someone else. I don't think that the board should be overreaching and placing these additional parameters. I think it gets messy, and I think that's what we saw, because something that was done it really was a gentleman's agreement and not really in the charter or anywhere else. So that's why I'm saying no. I'm not trying to get messy. Leave it up to the voters when it's time in November, and the board does what it's supposed to do under the law, and that's to have to do an appointment and to listen to the voices of the people of Ward 4 in that determination.
Mr. Jordan, I didn't see your reaction. Are you for putting that restriction on the appointed or not?
Yes, I'm for it. Okay. And I'm having some trouble hearing Mr. Clanton, but we didn't even have on the agenda hearing from the citizens of Ward 4 until I just mentioned it. The other thing that I think that part of what the issue was in terms of the ward system, as I understood it, is that we often end up in a situation where in order to campaign in elections, it takes money. And so what was happening, that some believe what was happening in the at-large system, that those communities that had access to resources would then fund candidates in such a way that it had a negative impact on African Americans in particular being able to elect a candidate of their choice. I personally, just in whatever it was, when when was my reelection? 2020, I think it was.
You were
recent.
2020, yes, May.
2020. So when I ran for reelection, I had many of my colleagues, campaign against me. I had folks from outside of Ward 7 finance an opponent. That I was, that just is what it is. But I'm saying that wards can be manipulated. And so I think being able to have someone who's willing to come and just be committed to the service to the school board for the completion of this year, and allowing for others who wish to campaign for the office to have time to go about whatever processes they need to do in order to run for the office and campaign for the office and reach out to the community and so forth. When the person is appointed, they're given an advantage of incumbency. So it allows someone who's appointed as a temporary replacement to then run as reelect me to the school board, or I'm the current school board member, or whatever the position may be. And I just think in our case, we should fall on the side of having a public servant to come forward and complete Ms. Smith's term without using the position or having the position give that appointee an advantage over any other candidate who would also like to pursue the seat and represent the citizens of Ward 4 on the school board.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Campson has her hand up.
Well, I think that we all know, I think that it's that well enough. I think that we all know that we can tell them they can't be on it and it won't matter because the law clearly says that we cannot give them that direction. We just saw this happen recently in Virginia Beach with a city council member who was not supposed to run but chose to do so. So I think that that's kind of a moot point. But what I wanted to say is we do need to have as much input as we can get from the citizens of Ward 4. I think that Dr. Martin has really hit on the really ones that are most productive, which are the emails. Encourage people in Ward 4 to send group emails to the whole board so that we get to read every single one. And I always read every single one of those that I get, and as does all the other members of the board. I think that's very effective, and I think that using December 3rd, as long as it takes, as many speakers that come in, maybe we need to go to a big school.
December 1st.
May?
December 1st.
December 1st, that we need, instead of trying to have people here, that we go into Ward 4 and have our meeting there in an auditorium so that every single person in Ward 4 that wants to speak can come in and speak to us, to make ourselves very available on that December one. The problem with surveys is you get such a poor response that I don't know, I just don't find them as effective, but that's another way to do it if the board wants to have that be a third way, so that it's very obvious that this board is trying to get as much information as they can from the residents of Ward 4. And definitely the emails, and especially having a big meeting inside Ward 4 so that they don't have to drive all the way here, that they're more likely to come because we'll be sitting right in the middle of the neighborhood.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other comments about the process? Do we want
Yes.
to? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Jordan.
Also, I think the interview question the survey question could use some polish, I guess. I don't know, adjustment. And then I also think it is important that the school board, as part of the application process, that we communicate to potential applicants what the school board does, what the expectations are, where we are in, there should be something that we take an effort to try to make sure that we explain to potential applicants what's involved with the being on the school board, what the school board members do. And so whether whether we do that at this public meeting we may do, I think would be helpful. But I also think as part of the application process, we ought to describe the work beyond just what the legal code says, because the legal code just says the qualifications of the work. I think we need to do a good job of explaining what the work is about and what we're doing, so that applicants have a sense of what we do, what we don't do, what the commitments are, and so forth. So whether it's a frequently asked question.
Isn't there a good document that VSBA has put together that answers all of this?
There is.
We could link it to the VSBA description of the role of the school board. Okay. Did you have anything else to add, Mr. Jordan?
Not at this time.
Okay. Who held their hand up? Ms. Bissine, did you have your hand up?
I did, but Mr. Jordan covered that piece.
And then, okay, so let's go back to, again, everything on here is up for discussion. I was just kind of throwing it out to get this started. So, so how would you want to revise the essay topic, or, you know, whatever we want to call it?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking everyone.
I think that why am I the best candidate to serve on the school board is a good question. I also think that there can be some questions about what's your knowledge or understanding of the work of the school board, our priorities and goals. We may provide an opportunity for individuals to expound upon what they see are some unique opportunities and challenges within Ward 4. One of the things that we've dealt with or tried to deal with, much of the St. Paul's the redevelopment is in Ward 4, which involves a significant number of children. And so we've even struggled as a board, in my opinion, of being able to discuss and understand what that impact means. And so that might be something that we could consider. As part of the input from citizens, you know, maybe we have also allow students to make sure we have student voice in that process as well. But I just think that the question, I think, is a fine question, but I think that maybe we could have 2 or 3 questions that we may want to put forward that goes beyond just, well, I'm not the best candidate to serve on the Norfolk School Board, but, you know, what do you understand about the board goals? What are your thoughts around equity and inclusion? At least I often hear from citizens in Ward 4 about concerns about, you know, longstanding teacher vacancies and issues with staffing and issues with discipline, and whether or not citizens of Ward 4 feel that they're genuinely respected. And so I think there's much that we could, at least a couple of questions perhaps we can work on that can pull out some of those thoughts as we consider a candidate who would represent the vision and values of the citizens of Ward 4.
Yeah, no, I think these are all great questions to provide some insight into the candidates. What I was thinking was that we'd just have them fill out, you know, I just threw out 300 words or less of why they're the best candidate, and then really get into the questioning with the interviews. And I think this is a good list of us, you know, once we select. I'm not putting a number on how many we select either. I don't know if you heard this earlier when you may not have, but you know, I don't think that we need to say we're only interviewing 3 people. I think we need to look at the pool of candidates and decide who, you know, we want to bring in to interview based on who stands out to us. in that saying meets the, by list, including the input from the community and elsewhere. So, so no, I appreciate you bringing up these topics. Anyone else? So because of time, what I'm going to ask you to do is we don't really need to come up with the interview questions today, but please email some to me, and then that'll help. I'll put together a list of everyone's interview questions, and we can decide on that. Our next meeting, 17th. We can talk about that on the 1st. Okay. Anything else?
Dr. Martin, I just want to point out that the VSBA does have a school board candidate guide on their website, and so I'd like to ask that that be attached to the website so that they can click on it and download that guide.
Good idea. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate your input. Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
Yeah, just for clarity, so what are we doing next?
So we're going to post the survey tomorrow, and it's going to include a link to the VSBA to the VSBA school board candidate guide.
And I think are you going to share with us what the survey is, what it looks like?
Ms. Tanner has it pulled up. Oh, yeah. We were going through that earlier. We can go through that again. And Ms. Tanner, can you please send this link out to each of the board members as well, please?
Oh, I see that.
And let us know when it goes live. Okay, can you share that on the screen, on the Zoom screen, so Mr. Jordan can see it? I have 20% of my phone battery left.
Dr. Martin? Dr. Martin?
Yes.
Could we also, would y'all please consider when you're doing the agenda for December 1st, and we go out to listen to parents, that maybe we start the work session off with that, so that they all have the opportunity to speak and that we're not making them wait a long time?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Jordan, do you see the survey on your screen?
I see one paragraph, a second sentence, and then part of required information.
Yes. Slow down just a second. Okay, Ms. Tanner, can you scroll down a little more? Okay, and that's it.
So again, I think that we should have more information about who we are. I'm not sure what our goals are currently, but I guess we could point to the accountability plan. I'm not sure what that is, but I think it's important that that we are introducing applicants to who we are and what we are doing. Just as I think we've done even a little more than this with the advisory committees that we have. So I would like to encourage that we just don't release this tomorrow without having the benefit of at least some input from the board as a whole.
Well, that's what we're doing tonight, is getting input
Well,
from the board.
I thought you were wrapping up. Well,
we're going to, I mean, we need to get this taken care of this evening so that we can have it posted tomorrow in order to stay on track and meet the 45-day deadline.
Right. So when did the input go into when the survey was being developed? When was that done?
I had asked Ms. Tanner to try to make it as easy as possible for candidates to apply. The survey seemed like a very easy, well laid out option that's already on our website. So I mean, it's right on our website. So if people are looking for it, you know, we're going to push it out through all of our normal communication avenues and try to get the information out as soon as possible, which would be tomorrow.
Right. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that I respect that and appreciate that, but that gave one board member the opportunity for input. It didn't necessarily give all of us opportunity for input. As the representative of Ward 7, that includes all of, if not most of, Ward 4.
But this is the time for your opportunity for input is today. That's why I was on the schedule. Why I was on the agenda.
Right. So I'm saying the survey, and that's what I'm trying to give you some feedback. So I'm trying to understand, now that you have feedback, are you just going to proceed as is, or are you going to consider the feedback that you're receiving?
Well, your feedback was to add more information about what it is to be on the school board, and I just said that we were going to link it to the school board candidate guide from the VSBA website. And then I just wrote down all of the questions that you have here, and then my response was, these are great questions for interviewing. I don't, and you guys can obviously, it's the will of the board, but I just don't want to inundate someone right off the bat with a ton of questions. I remember having to go through that as a candidate. And given the time constraints that we have, I'm trying to make it step by step as simple as possible. And, you know, so that we can select someone within 45 days. I don't want if we don't select someone within 45 days, then the courts can do it for us, and I don't want that to happen. So I am collecting everyone's input.
Yeah, and to the other point Mr. Jordan made, I think one of the comments was also providing more background information about Norfolk Public Schools, you know, what our current mission, goals, and all of that, you know, in that top paragraph as we lead into the
this is on the website, though, so it's right there with everything. It's on our website, so they would be seeing that on our website.
Okay, but, I mean, just understand, so, you know, we're just seeing this, so I don't know where it is.
Yeah, I mentioned
on the
that.
website.
I'm sorry if you didn't hear me. Yeah, so this is on our website, so anybody who's going to this would have to go to our website, which of course includes all of that other information that you have. So
right, but to
are you
make it
saying
as
to then
easy as
add maybe a
possible.
link to those pages? Mission
Not to
goals?
those pages, but we have a blurb at the top of this survey that says something, which I don't have it in front of me right now, but just to make sure that it ties into what our mission, what our goals are.
Scroll up so we can read that.
So when they explain why they are the best candidate, it connects.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we'll be looking for. Our look fors will be, how does it connect?
Yep.
Or how do they connect? And
all of
that will be important. And I would say that to make it a requirement that just so that they know the requirement is to include the resume. If we're not going to add the questions that I suggested earlier, that resume is a required piece.
Yeah, it is on the bottom of the page.
It says upload resume, but it doesn't say it's
Okay.
So we
Could
make
you add the
required
word required,
asterisk.
please?
Yep.
I mean, I think all this information is
Yeah.
required.
If they don't want to give us the information, they won't be a candidate that
Right.
we choose to interview.
So
Add a sentence that all of the information is required for a complete application.
And Dr. Martin, I would say, I would hope that a candidate would go and look at the website to understand what we're doing, but also if individuals who don't know, there is a tab underneath our district called School Board that has our School Board Accountability Plan, which is the plan that this entire board has approved that we're currently operating under, our calendar, our policies and regulations, who the school board members are, what our proposed budget is that we've approved, all of that information, as well as our advisory committee, so any individual or citizen in the community can get a very good understanding of where we are. I don't think we need to recreate or make this very cumbersome. We have a short amount of time. I do appreciate the questions that Mr. Jordan has asked. I do agree that I think they're great interview questions, but I think that we should not be placing barriers or adding additional things on an application when we're trying to get as many people to come forward. Appreciate hearing. I think we've all in agreement that we're going to go to Ward 4, move our work session on December 1st so that we can hear from the citizens. And then when we have all that information together as a board, a collective, not about what ward we're in, but as a collective, as a group, we can make a decision to move forward that we think is on the best interest of what the citizens have told us. But I appreciate all the comments, but I mean, honestly, at this particular point, I think that we've got a good framework that we can move on.
Anyone else? Mr. Jordan, are you still there? Okay.
I'm still here.
Okay. All right. We good?
So what are we doing?
We are going to post this tomorrow with all fields being required. And we're going to link the school board candidate guide to the VSBA's website. And
Guy or woman.
yes.
Okay.
Oh, did I say something? Did I gender someone?
Just said guy.
Oh, I didn't hear it. Okay. And what am I leaving out?
We just need Dr. Wilson to find a location.
Again, I have trouble hearing Mr. Clanton. Was he saying that because we have information on the website that citizens can find information on their own about our goals and other things, accountability plan and so forth?
Yes, under the school board page on the website.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would suggest that we be intentional about having a page that speaks to what we're doing here and provides direct links to the information. If trying to get stuff off of the board docs page isn't always the most effective and efficient. Also think we should robocall all the parents and folks we have in Ward 4 so that they are aware of the process. I think we should reach out to the new journaling guide and make sure that they have access. As part of our vision and values, we came up with a list of faith members, community members, and so forth that if we go back and look at that listing, I think also could be identified as key contacts in Ward 4. We can be intentional about our outreach Southside Coalition, the task force, the Eastside Task Force. There are many entities out there, Harbor Hall Civic League, all the different Ward 4 civic leagues, that we be very deliberate and intentional about our outreach and our connectivity to the citizens of Ward 4.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. We're gonna. I appreciate everyone's feedback. And look forward to.
Student rep.
Us. What's up? Next up, we have. Okay. Our item 6.01, our student representative reflections or comments. How are you this evening?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
That's good. Okay. Good evening, Dr. Martin, Vice Chair Clanton, Superintendent Birdsong, board members, dedicated parents and family, and all of our attendees for tonight's meeting. I hope you are all doing very well. As we know, Norfolk Public Schools provides multiple resources in regards to boosting the mental health of its students. Each school is provided with a social worker, psychologist, and school counselors for students to access. However, the students in our schools are having trouble connecting to these resources provided. I believe it would be beneficial to instill a few programs so students feel more comfortable seeking help and know exactly who they report to when they are in need of these resources. Some of the potential programs could include peer support systems, an awareness campaign for those seeking help, or even an anonymous hotline for students to reach for further support or information. This is especially necessary given my own personal experience before and during this pandemic that we are currently in, because it's not over. Prior to the pandemic, the mental health resources available still needed work, but I felt especially encouraged to talk to my school counselor. However, one thing I would like to see is a return to normalcy. Maury High School in particular put on a virtual pep rally, which was appreciated, all things considered, but the students are severely looking forward to in-person activities, including prom and possibly a spring pep rally to reinstall a sense of community and normalcy throughout the district. Just a reminder that without students, you have no schools. Without schools, you have no school board. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to sharing more with you at our next meeting.
Thank you, Karma. So are we allowed to ask her questions? Any feedback or questions? Oh, yeah, that's okay. No, you're fine. Good?
I mean, I think it's a great perspective, and something I think in alignment with the direction of this division around mental health, and it's just great to get student feedback on that to support the efforts going forward. I thank you for that.
You're fine. Okay.
Dr. Martin?
Yes.
Yeah, I just like to applaud Karma for her work. She also participated in the VSBA had a workshop for student representatives from around the Commonwealth. I had the opportunity to moderate that forum, and Karma did an excellent job of sharing some great thoughts and ideas, and she and many others of her student representatives from around the state have some strong voices and thoughts and opinions on how we as adult board members can better serve our youth and the students that we have responsibility for. And I would hope that in the future report that we can also give her an opportunity to expound upon some of the great ideas that I heard from her and others. We promised what was said there would stay there, so I don't want to go beyond that, but I think that there's so much value that she's not only brought to Norfolk, but is bringing to our region and the state. I just wanted to acknowledge her for her strong leadership and input as she serves in her capacity.
Thank you for recognizing that.
Jordan.
Thank you, Karma.
Thank you.
Dr. Martin?
Yes.
So along those lines, as we have these wonderful student representatives with these great ideas, such as, I was thinking about the peer support and how that might be implemented. Will there be an opportunity at a future meeting or a future work session where we could talk about really what our student board representatives will be working on, or going forward, such as how might we implement a peer support system in the school district, things like that. Like, how can we execute some of these ideas that our students are bringing forward?
Okay. I'll make a note of it, and when we meet for agenda planning, I'll talk to Dr. Birdsong about how we can work something like that in.
And we've actually already tried to put something in place for that. I know in working with our schools, Dr. Gibson is going to be and has reached out, for example, to connect with Karma and some of the wonderful ideas that she has, and as she represents the students of Norfolk Public Schools. I know she will be instrumental in helping her to operationalize some things Dr. Gibson was really funny in mentioning the other day. She said, before you know it, we're going to be back, we're going to be having proms and all kinds of things this year because Carmen is such a great advocate for children in the school division. She's such a great representative for the students. She has a lot of brilliant ideas, and we're going to work with her and our other children to operationalize some things. So we've got it.
Exciting. Thank you again. Okay, wonderful. Okay, moving on, we have 6.02 School Board Standing Committee Reports. Anyone want to start us off? Go ahead, Dr. Gabriel.
Sure. So I'm a member of the Facilities Committee. We have had some very robust meetings. They've been very informative, and you've seen the end results of some of those meetings with the recent reports that we had, the presentation that we had at the November work session. Now that Ms. Smith has vacated her, or she's resigned her position, we will need another representative on the Facilities Committee, and I'll just put that out there.
Mm-hmm. With someone who stepped forward to do that.
Yes.
Is that your report? Are you
We haven't met.
Okay.
We haven't met in a month or so. So we'll be meeting again, and hopefully it'll be with one of the other colleagues.
Okay, wonderful. Anyone else?
Dr. Martin?
Yes.
Wait a minute, hold up. My fault. I'm willing to serve on the Facilities Committee.
Okay. You'd be our second person that stepped forward.
Oh, who's the other person?
Ms. Campson. So, I'm not going to.
I might offer some Ward 6, Ward 7 balance.
Okay. All right, thank you. So I guess I have a committee report. The Norfolk Public Libraries, they always meet the Tuesday before this meeting. So yesterday we talked about the city's initiative, Believe, the lifelong learning initiative that it was started, I think, a year and a half ago or longer. And they're going to launch a summer learning program in May, and it's the Passport to Learning, and would like to have Norfolk Public Schools be more involved. Mr. Jordan and I were part of the original task force, so we've been meeting for a while, and I continue to do that through my role with the libraries, and so just wanted to let you all know. There's a website. It's going to be a big fair event kickoff in May, and I can get more of that information to you. But would love to have Norfolk Public Schools have a presence at that if we're able to do so, because of course lifelong learning begins with our children, and I think we have a lot to offer the city in that respect. So that's all. All right. Yes.
Dr. Birdsong, would you like to share with everybody to complete the strategic planning survey? Doesn't it close soon?
Friday, right?
Yes, it closes on Friday. We want to thank all of our students and our teachers, as well as the various stakeholders that participated in our community engagement sessions, our student sessions, our sessions with our teachers. We want to thank them for their input. Certainly it's very valuable. It's not the last opportunity to provide the input. We will continue to have these sessions to get feedback from our community as we develop our 5-year strategic plan. So yes, that will be closing soon. So we're asking you to please, if you have not already done so, provide your survey feedback to us so that we can use this critical feedback as we're working to develop this plan. So thank you again.
Dr. Martin, there's an international holiday today, and we should recognize Dr. Gibson. It's her birthday. She has stuck it out with this board, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday. All right, who's going to sing?
Oh, we good.
Happy birthday to
Yep.
you.
Happy birthday. Okay, well, with that, meeting adjourned.